the American people stand firm in the faith which has inspired this nation from the beginning. We believe that all men have a right to equal justice under law and equal opportunity to share in the common good. We believe that all men have the right to freedom of thought and expression. We believe that all men are created equal because they are created in the image of God. From this faith, we will not be moved.
Hello and welcome to the Freedom of Thought podcast. I am your host, Palladino Joey, or Joey Awajan. Freedom of Thought is available on all of your favorite podcasting apps. I think each and every one of you once and always for downloading and listening to this show. It is a great pleasure to be back on board with you once again today. Welcome to spring here in my neck of the woods, Golden Valley, Minnesota. It's kind of a windy, blustery but clear day, like severe clear, but unfortunately spring in Minnesota can be a bit on the chilly side, usually on the especially on the early side of spring, which in some ways is the most wonderful time of year because you're anticipating a beautiful spring on the way. Hopefully it will be, but that's not what we're here for today necessarily, even though talking about spring and talking about the simple things in life is also a part of freedom of thought. Like most recently, the Mysterious Adventures podcast, the Pyramids episode, where we talked about the discovery under the pyramids, has had like incredible numbers. Basically, the second highest rated or second highest download / played episode of any podcast I've done since everything moved to Spotify for podcasters, behind last year's Purple Mafia pre-draft. As last year's draft in the NFL was looked on as one of the most anticipated drafts of all time, with a bunch of quarterbacks, and of course the Vikings needed a quarterback so badly. So now I'm kind of all over the place here, but it was a huge success for Mysterious Adventures. Hopefully getting that one on the map a little bit. Unfortunately, over here on Freedom of Thought, things just, I don't know, things have gotten quiet. Maybe people moved over to Mysterious Adventures, which is totally fine. It's still one of the shows. Maybe you were here for, some people that were listening to this show were here more for that type of conversation. And, that's why that show got created. So it can be a whole show dedicated to, be it history, biblical history, ancient history, cryptoids, all kinds of crazy stuff. So recently did an episode on the Mothman. I was thinking of doing all that over here on Freedom of Thought, which probably, I don't know, it needs its own show, put it that way, where Freedom of Thought needs its own show. Whereas maybe somebody that's that's looking for something like what I talk about on Mysterious Adventures is going to hear about the Trump tariffs, or is going to hear about, stuff like that. How I feel about Keith Ellison, which I was going to do this weekend. Oh yeah, I had something planned. I'll still do it. Oh yes, because there's some, I have some things to say about Keith Ellison. Obviously, I'm not a huge fan. Spoiler alert, I'm sure you're real surprised by that. But I actually have an interesting story behind Keith Ellison for the kind of from my personal perspective, and let's say people close to me's perspective. I'll put it that way, that have been affected by Keith Ellison and some of the crap he does. So, we're not big fans of his over here in Minnesota. At least, I'm not, and people on my side of the aisle are not. I'm sure there's plenty of Democrats are frustrated with him as well. He is quite a jerk. Anyhow, the tariffs, that's been the number one story across the Great Divide, pretty much across the whole country, across the whole world. The stock market dropped, I don't know how many percentage yesterday. What were they saying? Like, since some of this been going on, since this drop-off has been happening, like estimated $6.6 trillion evaporating from the stock market. Now, here's the thing. I don't know what the percentage is, but I got to think 75 plus is just panic selling. And bottom line, people are overreacting. That's my take on this. People are grossly overreacting to what's going on. And, well, the most recent episode of Truth to Ponder, it's Truth with the number 2 Ponder podcast. You can go to the website, whatever.com. But the podcast, of course, which is probably more of where you might be interested. The most recent episode, Bob Bierman, the host and creator of that show, does a fantastic job kind of breaking down things about the tariffs and why people are, flat being crazy here. People are overreacting. And, of course, there's a lot of manipulation and a lot of BS going on. And kind of the story behind the tariffs and why Trump is like, hey, what the heck? What are people complaining about? It's, we've been ripping us off for 70, 80 years since the end of, 80 years, 1945. We've been ripping us off since World War II. As United States in our, from the kindness of our heart, the goodness of our heart, all that kind of stuff, we're helping these countries that were savaged by the war. Like Japan, obviously, we dropped nuclear bombs there so we could finally put a stinking end to the war. As the the guy that introduces this show at the beginning, we have a right to freedom of thought and expression. You hear that at the beginning of every episode. That is President Truman, who said the buck stops here and put an end to the war in the Pacific Campaign with the 2 nuclear bombs. It had to, it's one of those things. Like, this needs to end. Otherwise, we invade. This lasts maybe another 10 years or God knows what. And it's a big bomb. It's just it's a disaster. There's many more lives lost on both sides of the equation. So there's that. Anyhow, countries like Japan, and Europe, Germany, Norway, so many other countries, Poland, all these other countries, so many countries that were affected by World War II. Like Europe was just beat to hell, basically, with all the crap that was going on with the European side of the campaign. So out of the goodness of our hearts, basically, we set up a system where they would get, they would be able to tariff us. They'd be able to charge an extra tax, basically a tariff, to help their countries kind of get back, financially, get their economy back running again, get everything running again. But then the deal was that the deal was that, okay, eventually things would kind of come back and, things would kind of come back and we wouldn't have to pay the tax like that anymore. Oh, but no, we're still going to keep paying it for, until 2025 still. We're still basically being tariffed by all these countries. So then when Trump finally says, okay, we're going to start putting tariffs on you guys because we've been paying, you've been giving us 0 and we've been giving you, this, that, 30%, sometimes much higher than that, 20%, 10%, 30%. And sometimes much higher. Well, how about we charge you a discount, like a less version of the tariffs, because so we can get something back. I mean, my goodness, we're here to make America great again, not to let you, run us dry. And this was applauded by many, many, many people, especially people that work in manufacturing and such, be it steel or building cars, that type of thing. The Detroit type people, Motortown, building cars. Building, manufacturing products in this country, rather than putting it overseas and letting them, pay their employees like $2 an hour or something so they can make bajillions of dollars. Yeah, and then they pay the taxes over there, which would be, much different than they would be here. And boo-boo, we're going to just, get away with all the crap we can do, basically, is what's happening on all sides of the equation. These are definitely usually the left-leaning companies like Apple and such. Oh, yeah. Apple, Microsoft, just to name a few. There are so many others, of course. And then the markets plummet to hell because everybody's freaking out and making up the stories that they make. The Chuck Schumers and the, Chuck Schumer especially, but also the Mike Pence, who has never been our friend. He just pretended to be. He pretty much helped sabotage Trump the whole time, with a smile on his face, looking like a nice gentleman. Yes, he's a good guy. He's a good guy. He's one of us. And he's a Christian, doggone it. Yeah, well, they told us George H.W. Bush was a Christian, too. Yeah, New World Order. Yeah, New World Order? You're worshiping Satan, you son of a, worshiping the New World Order. You get the pyramid capstone, the illumination of 1,000 points of light. I mean, what are you talking about? Fallen angels or something? What kind of Christian is that? If that's a Christian, I've got a $3 bill here, that I'm going to give you, and I'm going to sell you I've also got a bridge to sell you as well, and some oceanfront property in Arizona. What do you think? Sound good? Sound real to you? It's not. Okay. There we go. A little bit of humor there. So anyhow, the tariffs that were listed on the tariff board that Trump had held out. Shall we read them off a little bit here? Let's see. This wonderful country that's really making us all feel great here. They're just wonderful people. China. Yeah, China. 67% tariff to the USA. 67%. We just say, okay, how about 34? Oh, well, and then it's like, oh boy, what are we, the biggest idiots ever? Yeah, I guess so. European Union, 39%. Now we want to put 20%. That's the Trump tariff. Vietnam, 90%. 90% tariffs on Vietnamese goods. It's incredible. 90% from Vietnamese goods coming our way. You know what I mean? Like if we want to bring stuff. So that's just incredible. Like they're tariffing us is the whole point. 90%. And I know how it was left over from the Vietnam War, but I mean, that was like 50 years ago, right? And even longer. Let's see, 46 coming back from Trump, the Trump tariff. Taiwan, 64, 32 from Trump. Japan, 46. Again, that's going back to World War II. That's 80 years ago, excuse me. 24%. That's half, basically. Slightly less than half. India, 52%, and then we're putting 26. That's half. That's a pretty good discount. South Korea, 50%, coming back 25. Thailand, 72, and U.S. is going with 36. See, before these were all zeros. You understand? Yeah, especially obviously the Bidens, the Bushes, the Obamas. The only other president that questioned what the heck is going on and wanted to kind of do something about this happened in the early 1960s. Now, who might that be? John F. Kennedy. And what happened to him? Yeah. And obviously more and more information is coming out that, it might not have been just Lee Harvey Oswald involved in that one. In fact, it might not have, I don't know. I've long thought he wasn't really involved at all, and that he was the fall guy, the patsy, this and that. That this was, the New World Order, basically. The same type of people, but generation or two earlier that, planned and allowed 9/11 to happen. Helped plan and allow 9/11 to happen. Yeah, exactly. Because part of it was allowing those terrorists to hit the buildings. The other part was that it's complete destruction of the buildings, which, the airplanes don't make that happen, especially that quickly. They don't make buildings collapse that quickly. It doesn't make sense. It just doesn't. Especially a building that wasn't hit by an airplane. The Solomon Brothers building, Building 7, went down in a heap. Like, it went down in seconds. Just like, bye-bye. It doesn't make sense. It doesn't. It wasn't hit by a build. It wasn't hit by an airplane. It wasn't hit by a building either. Actually, might have been hit a little bit by falling debris, but not that much. Not enough to cause it to do that. They were the first 3 buildings in the history of the planet to collapse due to fire. Coincidence, huh? I don't know, maybe. But that's the list. I probably can't go on forever and ever. I'll bore you to death. But I think you get the general concept. One of the worst of all, though, I'll just mention Cambodia, 97%. We're going with 49. How dare we? That's just evil. That's just Trump being stupid. He's just stupid. So that's absolutely funny. That's funny. Oh, sorry, a little something distracting me. United Kingdom, there's a couple that are just even, like Turkey, it's 10 and 10. Colombia, 10 and 10. Chile, 10 and 10. 10 and 10. Singapore, 10 and 10. Brazil, 10 and 10. United Kingdom, 10 and 10. Sound like school closings, right? Shakopee, public and private, closed. Edina, public and private, closed. St. Louis Park, public and private, 2 hours late. No. Sorry, that's WCCO back in the day. Argentina, 10 and 10. Guatemala, 10 and 10. Honduras, 10 and 10. Egypt, 10 and 10. Saudi Arabia, 10 and 10. El Salvador, 10 and 10. Trinidad and Tobago, 12 and 10. Okay. And then Morocco, 10 and 10. Dominican Republic, 10 and 10. Peru, which will be possibly the next. There'll be some relations to Peru coming up with the next Mysterious Adventures. Might be talking about the Nazca lines. That'll either be the next episode or 2 episodes down. So Nazca lines, fascinating conversation coming up there. United Arab Emirates, which everybody likes to wear all the time with the Fly Emirates. I guess that's great. New Zealand, 10 and 10. Argentina 10 and 10. So those are the ones that are even when it comes to splitting the tariff percentage back and forth. But the whole thing is just, obviously, clearly, it's a bunch of crap, and we're getting absolutely, we've been getting ripped off forever. So again, this is driven by the media and driven by the evil politicians, the rhinos, the Mitch McConnell types, the Chuck Schumer types. Mike Pence, who's done nothing good for us at all, basically. Maybe the first 5 minutes he was in office, I guess he might have been okay. He didn't hurt us, but he didn't really help much the whole time. It felt like the whole time, like a lot of people were trying to sabotage Trump's first term in office, people inside the administration, where now, obviously, the administration appears to be more on the ball, appears to be more like aligned to the vision of what's going on. Of course, the local media and national media makes it look like Trump is some kind of a egomaniac who only wants people that agree with him on everything. Let's see. I think just about every Democrat president did that, didn't they? I mean, they were all kind of, oh, yeah, I agree with everything. It's about being a part of this plan to actually do something rather than be, 100% facing the other direction, basically like, screw you, we're not doing that, which is pretty much what, I forgot the guy's name. The most recent attorney general, or the second attorney general that he had out there, was a massive disappointment. Obviously, Jeff Sessions didn't do anything. He was a massive disappointment. Even Mike Pompeo kind of stabbed Trump in the back in the end, which was really surprising. He seemed like he was a pretty good guy. He kind of went the opposite direction, which was super annoying at the end of the day. So, oh, man, extremely frustrating to say the least with how things went in that previous administration when things looked so promising for quite a while. But things were doing well when it came to the economy until stupid COVID took over. And now they're trying to sabotage Trump with this whole tariff thing, obviously creating a panic with the public, and you see people panic selling. As far as I'm concerned, I'm not selling a damn thing. Nope, I am not selling anything. The only reason I would make a sale on anything is to I don't think it's a particularly good stock, and you move it into another one that I think is undervalued to catch it on the bounce. Because let me tell you, folks, there's going to be a bounce. Oh yeah, there will be a bounce. It might take a little while, but say like a Boston Scientific, which I happen to own a ton of shares in because it's part of my, it's part of the benefits of my employment. It's an option, obviously, where you can take a percentage of your check and purchase it at a discount price. It's called an ESOP. A lot of you may have known what that is, where you can buy company stock at a discount price, but you're obligated to hang on to the stock for 90 days after the stock is purchased. So they're purchased in 6-month blocks, so like a semester block. The company then averages out the stock price over the 6-month period. So like whatever the average price is over that 6-month period, then slash off 15%, and then the money that's been pooled up during that 6-month period then purchases the stock at the discount price, and then you're obligated to hang on to that stock for at least 90 days. And I've made tiny sales here and there basically to help me financially, not because I'm just looking to make a quick profit and run, which unfortunately it seems like a lot of people are doing. I don't understand that. That's kind of not really being responsible as a trader, not traitor. But you can, I mean, whatever. If you're not real confident in the company, fine, so be it, which some people might not be. But generally speaking, the panic selling that's been happening is ridiculous. Like, I couldn't believe it. Like, you saw the price of, like, the amount of money leaving your 401ks. Some people are probably losing tens of thousands of dollars right now, but because of all the panic selling. I would say, hang on, weather the storm. And if you have some cash sitting around for such an event like this, buy some extra shares, because you're going to come ahead. Almost certainly you're going to come ahead, because this is going to bounce back. People are unnecessarily panicking here, to a point of like, it's ridiculous. This always happens whenever there's any type of a small panic, and then the media starts talking. It can generate into a massive panic, where stocks drop like crazy. Remember, like the whole COVID thing. The Boston Scientific stock dropped to like $30 a share. It had been closer to 50, basically. It was like a few $1,000s that were, in the 401k, right? And they were just kind of sitting into like a bond fund type of thing. I took a chunk of that, not that much, but a chunk, only a small amount of percentage of my check's been going to that. I took a chunk of that and slid it over to the Boston Scientific Company Stock Fund, which is a separate thing, but it's still, it basically, what it does is it replicates the company stock, basically like how good the company stock is doing. It's like, obviously I have the individual stocks with the GSOP, but the 401k version of it, the stock fund, I moved it all into that because the stock price plummeted. It wasn't even 30, it was like $24, like insane. This was during the COVID week when everything was like, oh boy, shut everything down. Like the market went absolutely insane. And what happened? Let's see, Boston Scientific's price went up to like $100 a few years later. But even right after that, it went back up to 40 in like maybe 2 weeks to a month. And I was laughing my butt off. I was laughing. It went up that much in that small amount of time. It had been 50-ish, and then it got close to 40 after watching it dip all the way down to 24. I'm like, I'm making a move because this is just kind of silly panic selling. And, well, that was thousands of dollars just like that. Now, in the 401k, it's restricted money. But still, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun, to take advantage of people freaking out. And, yeah, that's kind of what you should do. I think that's what a lot of people that pay attention to things do. Buy things on the bounce, and it's up to you if you want to sell it right away. Otherwise, ride it out and let it continue to grow as companies like Boston Scientific have been doing. So that's kind of how you approach things there. Pardon me. Yeah, it is. It's definitely an opportunity for people that want to make, that want to build their 401k or such, or just regular stocks. It's an opportunity, and I don't mean like laughing at people. I think it's sad that people are doing that, but might as well, if you have the means, go for it. That's kind of how I look at it. So I hope you see that as sound advice and not me just kind of talking out of somewhere, talking out of turn basically, and being annoying. I don't know. That's what I'm not trying to be. It's just, I say take advantage of the opportunity rather than, look at it as an opportunity rather than something to panic and freak out about. Because panicking and freaking out always leads to something worse. Like you're sliding a little bit on the freeway. If you panic, you know what could happen? You might not go home alive, or you might wind up in the ditch. You might hit somebody. Odds are you might lose control. You cannot panic. You have to weather the storm. You cannot panic. Like I've slid around quite a bit, and I was scared as you know what, but you don't panic. You don't overcompensate. That's the whole point. Like you're sliding around in that freeway at like 35, 40 miles an hour because you're not going 65, 70 because it's very slippery, dangerous conditions when it's, like kind of a slushy snow. It's one of those type of deals where, like rain turned to snow type of thing. It is the scariest thing ever. That took place this past, was it this week or last week? I think it was last week already. But it was absolutely and downright scary, to say the least. That was Monday, wasn't it? It was terrifying. But I got home. The trick is don't panic. And that's kind of it's similar with the stock market. Do you really want to panic and then you've literally sold on a huge loss? That kind of sucks. I mean, do you really want to do that? I sure don't. So that's kind of how I look at this, and again, hold. It's a shame that, but I mean, like if you could just see the future, sell some before, and then keep it there and then put it back in afterward. But it's kind of cheating. Obviously, that would be evil. But I'm just kidding. But obviously, this isn't Back to the Future, with the sports almanac that has all the sports scores for like a 50-year period or whatever it was, 40-year period, where you could cheat and all that. But or was that a 60-year period? It was like 55 to 2015. Gosh, 2015's 10 years ago. 2015's 10 years ago, and there's still no flying cars. Doggone it. Bummer. I'm just kidding. That would be dangerous, I think. You'd probably have to get a very special type of license to even have a flying car. You'd have to basically be a pilot, wouldn't you? So good luck with that. That's why that kind of thing just doesn't exist. Or it would have to be automatic and, and the government could take control of it. And guess what? Yeah, that thing could just take you over to a prison or something because you disagreed with the government. So I think I'll pass. Other than that, again, that's kind of my thoughts for now. There will be an episode about Keith Ellison and some background stuff going on. Maybe, yeah. I mean, I have a story to tell about that. It's, you know how there's always cases and stories and such. Well, there's a side here that I think people like Keith Ellison ain't helping nobody. And you act like he's for the people, and he thinks he's for the people, or people believe that. All these idiots in this state that vote for him every single time he's up for election, to a point like he wins like easily. Like there's no competition even, hardly. Like competition is a sin. It's just easy for him. I think it's ridiculous. Pay attention to what's happening and pay attention to what he does. He butts into things and doesn't make them better. In fact, he just makes everything worse. He's an activist and an ass. That's who Keith Ellison is. He's nothing but an activist and a rabble rouser. But I'll save that for what probably will be the next episode at the end of the day. So I hope you enjoyed this. I hope you don't mind that, this was the conversation this week. I guess it kind of had to be. It's a lot of, it's a lot of what's been going on of late. So there is no doubt about that. And that's kind of where things are going. Sorry, I keep getting distracted. People keep messaging me about things, and it's just now's not a good time for that. Sorry, but not sorry when it comes to that. Well, the Facebook page is Freedom of Thought. Facebook.com/Freedom of Thought 1776. The Twitter or X is Freedom of Thou 76. The Instagram, which sometimes I have up and sometimes I don't. Again, this is a mobile episode if you can't tell. Of course you can. Freedom of _ thought 1776. That is the Instagram account. Please give that a follow. It would be nice to hear from you on there. Of course, you can check out the Mysterious Adventures podcast if you like that. Hopefully you do. I think I'm really enjoying doing that one. And yeah, could be doing a Nazca Line episode. I did some prep the last few days and building that one up. Hopefully that'll be a good one. And I'll be building up stuff about Keith Ellison too, coming up here for the next episode of Freedom of Thought. That's kind of what Freedom of Thought is about, is, obviously news commentary like this, or, who knows, something like Keith Ellison, like what's really going on with him and what really is he doing for the people, or not doing for the people at all, just screwing things up and making it worse, which feels like that's all his type are all about, honestly. So that's pretty much it when it comes to that. I don't think there's any interactions at the moment, unfortunately. Or is there? A lot of times we'll hear from Mark Carlson, but unfortunately, I don't think this week. I don't think so. No. But when Mark Carlson interacts, or Gerald String, you guys are the absolute greatest. Anybody else you want to talk politics? Come on on. Come on here. Let's go. It'd be great, commenting on social media, or of course, again, audio submissions, which are way more than welcome. You could simply use your smart device, basically like I'm doing right now, and press the voice recorder, open it up basically by clicking on it, whatever. Press record, treat it like a phone call or just like you're doing a miniature podcast, and email it, /send it, share it, whatever, to PaladinoLive@yahoo.com. PaladinoLive@yahoo.com. I would then convert it to an MP3 thanks to CloudConvert.com. They do a great job for stuff like that. Pardon me. The wind is blowing really hard all of a sudden. But what's the other thing? If you could put a nice 5-star rating on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or any other app that allows you to do so, I would greatly appreciate it. Please do. And of course, there's the Give, Send, Go out there as well. Give, Send, Go. The link is in the show description. Let me know if it doesn't work, that kind of thing, but it should work, I hope. It is a Christian company If you would like to donate as low as like 99 cents, I believe. I think it goes down that far. That's what I was hoping. Yeah, if it can, if you want to donate as little as 99 cents. If you don't, totally fine. Thank you so much for listening. Please, thank you so much for listening, and share the show if you could. It'd be great with your friends. Tell them about it. With that said, thank you so much for listening. God bless you, and God bless the United States of America.